Wallabies and All Blacks game number 1 between these two sides in the Rugby Championship, and I didn't see that coming. Even within the match, it looked like the All Blacks were going to give the Wallabies a hiding. The All Blacks were massive favourites going into this one, and it ends up being a kind of skin of the teeth win for the All Blacks, 31 points to 28. The All Blacks still are not finishing games well. For the Wallabies, man, I'm chuffed for you, because if you guys had been flogged by 30, 40, 50 points, that would not have been a good look for Aussie Rugby on the back of that record loss against the Pumas a couple of weeks ago. So the Wallabies boys needed to put in a good shift and will be mighty disappointed with the way they defended at the start of the game, because they gave themselves such a mountain to climb, but they almost bloody got there. The All Blacks, on the flip side, they started with a proper hiss and a roar. They are still one of the best sides in the world at hitting you on the break. But going toe-to-toe and breaking a side down still doesn't quite seem to be just there just yet for Razors boys. We'll go through some of the key events and the stats, and you guys can let us know your thoughts on how this one went. Flying start for the ABs. Oh my gosh, 2 minutes. Will Jordan, try number 1. He is still lightning quick. The gap that he went through was like pathetic defending from the Wallabies. How the heck 2 minutes into a game there can be such space, like barn door wide, for Will Jordan to just go straight through is remarkable. Like, if you're tired in the 80th minute, maybe you can see it happening. In the second minute, not so much. I think it was like a minute 31 on the clock when he went over the line. 7 points to 0 for the ABs. New Zealand are dominating the territory. They are camped down the Wallabies half. Will Jordan catches the high ball, gets smoked by, I think it was Harry Wilson, but they're still able to get some quick ball. They get it wide. Satiti, Ratima, they got a big line break from Ratima, gets it wide to Rico. He takes it. He hasn't scored a try for a long time, for the All Blacks anyway. He gets one, so 14 points to 0. More New Zealand attack. It looks like they're going to score again, but Rico, when he does pass, it gets intercepted, so that chance is snuffed. But then when Wilson's pass gets intercepted for the Wallabies, the All Blacks on that turnover ball, they pounce. It's intercepted by Clark. They go through some phases. D-Mac, Geordie Barrett, Clark beats a couple of defenders and reaches for the line. 21-0 after 15 minutes. This is looking like a rout. It's looking like potentially making the Argentina result look like a nothing result, because the All Blacks are surely going to just keep putting these Wallabies guys to the sword. They have not come to play the Wallabies. It's all the All Blacks. However, the Wallabies did get some much-needed points, more or less straight away in reply. It was a sweet line-up move. And if there's one thing Joe Schmidt can do, it's he can prep teams with some good set plays. The line-out goes to Valentini, to White, and that man McCright, who's got the pace. 21 points to 7. That's at least a little bit more game on. But then the Wallabies were still at times their own worst enemies. They lose a line-out to Tupovai. Caleb Clark's able to win aerial ball against them. So they're putting a lot of pressure on the Wallabies, and they're only saved by the fact that Scotty Barrett's offload ends up in the hands of Nick Frost. That's certainly a golden opportunity, number 1, missed for the All Blacks. The All Blacks attack again. This time the ball's coughed up by Cody Taylor. And then McCright hits the mother of all 50-22s. Like, it's just turnover ball. The All Blacks back 3 have not gotten back into the backfield yet, because they've literally had the ball 5 seconds before. McCright, who's a loose forward, hoofs it long. It's a 22-22. It's not a 50-22. It is a magnificent kick. But the Wallabies, in Wallabies fashion, managed to lose the resulting lineout, to just not take advantage of that momentum. Quite frustrating, but at least they didn't concede, because they had been under the pump. Then the All Blacks get their next try. This one is through Adi Savia. Again, it's turnover ball. Reese pounces on it. Callaway does well to kind of at least get hands on him, so he's not able to scamper away himself. But as Korobidi's coming to shut things down, Adi Savia is running the support line. 28 points to 7. So surely the All Blacks juggernaut is going to keep on trucking. That's the final try for the ABs in the match. So the All Blacks kind of go from being at above a point a minute to not scoring any more tries for the rest of the game, which is concerning for the ABs, encouraging for the Wallabies. Just be frustrated with just turnover ball, missing their own chances, and just at the start, just soft on defence, like I say. Tom Wright has a big line break, but happily for the All Blacks, Will Jordan wasn't buying his dummy. Fullback on fullback, so that's a chance snuffed out that the Wallabies were as they try to kind of wrestle some momentum out of the game. But then they got themselves a scrum penalty, which has not been that easy to come by for the Wallabies scrum, but they got a scrum penalty. They get themselves into New Zealand territory. They go for touch. They go for a maul. The maul's kind of crabbing sideways towards the touchline, so the All Blacks have shut it down pretty well. But then Matty Fassler, the hooker, sees what's coming, peels off the side, sets himself one-on-one with who is one of the All Blacks' better tackling guys. I mean, if Sam Cane can't tackle, he's not an All Black, because that's basically the primary attribute why you pick Sam Cane. But boy, does Sam Cane not make that tackle. Matty Fassler beats him one-on-one, so Cane will not be happy with that one. But 28-14? If you'd offered the Wallabies 28-14 when it was 28-7, or even 21-0, I think they'd probably take that, because that's still... you're still chasing the game, but it's not insurmountable by any means. The All Blacks have another golden opportunity, though. D-Max got a line break on 38 minutes, kind of ends up throwing it to nobody. Maybe Reese overruns it, so neither of those guys filled themselves with glory for that one, but certainly got a golden opportunity. Number 2 missed, and then Artie gets TMO'd before... the ABs get TMO'd before halftime, because there's a... who was the one that scored that try? There was a knock-on by Sever Reese in the build-up. To be honest, didn't look like a knock-on. It never looked like it really fully, completely left Reese's hands. But there's a knock-on at the ruck, which disallows the All Blacks try. So, yeah, I don't know. But the first angle certainly looked like a knock-on, but the second angle didn't really so much. The second angle was a lot closer shot. But All Blacks have still been relatively dominant, man. 61% possession. 67% territory. They have had 23 defenders beaten to 7. Now remember, just flip that number for missed tackles. That's 23 missed tackles by the Wallabies to 7. Clean breaks is 7-2. Run meters is 350 to 240. All Blacks should be ahead by more. Missed a couple of golden opportunities for sure, and denied one by the TMO. Second half starts, the Aussies conceded a couple of soft penalties at the breakdown. And the All Blacks opt for 3, which at the time kind of seems a bit questionable, because you think you got the Aussies on the ropes, you've scored 4 tries, you need to get yourself back that bonus point maybe. But bonus points don't really matter, because the Bledisloe doesn't have bonus points, and we're not competing for the Rugby Championship trophy anymore, having lost too many games to be in the running for it. But they opt for 3, ends up being the difference in the game. But at the time, it was just a bit of a head scratcher. But no, it makes it 31-14. And that's the final scoring of the game for the ABs. They can't score points late. It's bizarre. As a guy who grew up watching the All Blacks run teams down my whole life, to them to just struggle in the final 20, and more than the final 20, this one is kind of baffling. But I mean, they didn't really struggle in the next stanza of play, because boy, did they have chances to put the Aussies away. The Aussies didn't pounce on a loose ball on 48 minutes. It was the All Blacks guys who pounced on it, despite the fact that the Aussie guys seemed closer to it. So good commitment from the All Blacks guys to get that loose ball. They attack, but the final pass again doesn't stick, so another missed opportunity. Artie gets held up. Again, they TMO it to check if it's a try, but it's an on-field no try. Wilson makes the tackle, and Nick White gets his hand under there, so it's held up. It's another opportunity missed for the ABs. And then turnover ball again from the Australians leads to an All Blacks chance. D-Mac runs it out of his 22, gets it to Will Jordan. To Taylor, who has a good carry. Ratima with the fend on Lolosio. Looks like try time for Dace. A magnificent kind of coast-to-coast try, but gets pinged for a forward pass as D-Mac is kind of falling into touch. So D-Mac, just this game, is unable to find that final pass. Just execution letting the ABs down. How many golden opportunities we're looking at? We're looking at a couple of TMO'd, a couple of just final passes not sticking. The All Blacks, if they make all these chances, are 50, 60 points. But, you don't get nothing for the missed chances, sadly. The Aussies did have a 5-metre line out on 61 minutes, and I thought, man, these guys absolutely need to score here. They didn't. Satiti was able to get a steal, and TJ Perenara had a hell of a kick clear. And then, literally for the final 20, it's just all Aussie momentum. I don't fully grasp why the All Blacks are struggling in the final 20. Admittedly, there's been questions about how Razor's using the bench. He did bring on some of the subs. You know, he cleared the bench in this game. Some of the guys earlier than others, but like Salakai Aloto had a line break. Paisami dummied Reese and was able to go over for a try. ALB gets yellow carded for the All Blacks conceding too many penalties in the red zone. That was a kind of weird one, not because of the yellow card, just because usually prior to a yellow card, the team goes on an official warning. Carl Dixon's a bit of a loose cannon like that, and that he just kind of shoots from the hip, so he wasn't having it. So ALB gets yellow carded, so All Blacks down to 14 men. And then the Wallabies just need to capitalise on this yellow card to potentially, make the Bledisloe Cup game a decider. I feel like, despite the fact that they will take a moral victory out of this game, having been written off and having been down 21-0, they'll still be gutted the way they couldn't punish the yellow. Like they had a line break where it was Paengamosa, it was McCright and McDermott. TJ Perenara put a sweet tackle in on McDermott, and the All Blacks ended up holding them out. Then Caleb Clark gets yellow carded for one of them one-handed intercepts, and you guys know I'm not a big fan of the deliberate knockdown with the one hands, but that one was bad. That one deserved a yellow. He barely gets fingertips to it. He's never catching that one, so Clark gets himself yellow carded. We are literally now 15 against 13. The Aussies did look to have scored, but they get it TMO'd because there's a knock-on in the build-up. Bit of a kind of get-out-of-jail free card there for the ABs. Fortunate, but we've had some tries TMO'd as well. Thankfully, the TMO was eyeballing everything in this one for both sides. Aussies really needed to score 15v13, and you got Wilson with the kind of miracle offload play, which is not necessary when you've got a two-man advantage. Forward pass, so a chance missed for the Wallabies, but they find there's a tossy high tackle, so they go back for the penalty, so it's at least more ball for the Wallabies, but the time is still ticking by as all this is happening. Satiti wins a penalty on the All Blacks' own goal line. Again, it's 15v13, so the Wallabies not able to convert. And they did finally manage to get it done on 79 minutes. Tom Wright is able to get it done when he beats D-Mac after Wilson had gone close. D-Mac had a few costly moments in this one, to be fair. That makes it 31-28 with like less than a minute to play. And I do feel like, because by that point, the All Blacks are still a man down, I do feel like the Wallabies just scored that right try. Just 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, just too late. Like the All Blacks are able to hold them up from the restart, so it's a maul turnover, so it's a scrum. The scrum is one fine enough, and Adi Sava is able to kick it out. So the All Blacks kind of hang on, but if this game goes 5 more minutes, I reckon the Wallabies probably win. We still had a few minutes left on the yellow card, and they just had the vast majority of the momentum. But that being said, they had a bunch of chances that they had kind of snuffed out the ABs, so maybe not. Don't matter. All Blacks got the win, but only just barely. So, game of two halves, man. Possession finish is 53-47, 52-48. Remember, those numbers were way lopsided to the ABs in the first half, so much more even second half. Defenders beaten 25-33, so the All Blacks still beat more, but it's a lot more even than it was at halftime. Clean breaks 9-5. Remember, it was 7-2 in the first half, so the All Blacks limited in the second. Turnovers conceded 18 by the ABs, 15 by the Wallabies, so the All Blacks guilty of coughing up a little bit of ball. Some of those final passes just not there. Run meter 646, 593, so again, a bit more even than the first half. Yellow cards, 2-zip. That one's a costly one that the ABs will be not looking on too fondly with the review. But then likewise, the Wallabies, their line out, 12 from 16 is not good enough. Like the All Blacks, 14 from 16 is still, you'd like to win at least one more of those. It's hard to get a perfect line out outing, but yeah, the Wallabies missing 4 of them. Pretty costly. Individuals, Wright, 131 metres is the most in the game. He beats 4 defenders, gets himself a try. Will Jordan, 87 metres for the ABs, beats 6 defenders, also gets himself a try. Savia, 14 carries. Wilson, 18 carries. Savia, 53 metres. Wilson, 28 metres. Savia, 17 tackles. Wilson, 22 tackles. So both these guys really, really busy for their sides. It was good to see Savia able to get forward a bit more. But, yeah, still not his perfect game either just yet. But, man, a win is a win. And the fact that the Wallabies were competitive is good for the game. I think the All Blacks blew a lot of chances. And will be very disappointed in the review. They could have had the game dead and buried, but they left the door open, and the Wallabies very nearly walked through it. The Wallabies, as I said, they blew some chances of their own at the end. They showed it against the Box as well. Against 14 men or against 13 men, they got to be more ruthless than that. Like a miracle offload, 50-50 pass, you don't need it. There's going to be the space there. So, yeah, that's the All Blacks up against the Wallabies game 1. We await the Box and the Pumas later on. Tomorrow morning for me here in NZ. But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts on the game. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already. And I'll even put a link down in the description to another video where I walked around China on a public holiday wearing a Leinster hat and tried to visit a spot, but it was pandemonium because it was people everywhere. China's a very busy country. Something unrelated, but there's no rugby on at the minute until the Japanese take on the Fijians in not too long. But anyway, I'm going on. You guys take care of yourselves. Let me know your thoughts on this one, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.